Again. See you when I wake up. If a gift I didn't think could be real. To know that you feel the same as I do is a treat from your utopian dream. You do something to me that I can't explain. So would be out of line if I said I miss you. See your picture as now you skin on the empty pillow next to mine. You have only been gone 10 days, but already I'm wasting away. No, I'll see you again, whether far or soon. But I need you to know that I care, and I miss you. Yeah.